We live in some of the best communities in Illinois. We care about our neighbors. We work hard to preserve our quality of life. But there's something we forget about in Elmhurst. A river runs through it, and it's up to us to protect it. Our storm drains flow to Salt Creek, and that means our harmful waste does too. So try using fewer chemicals on your lawn. Avoid leaking fluids from cars. And grow native flowers and plants to absorb more rainwater. Don't muddy the waters. Do your part to clean up Salt Creek.
Welcome to the Elmhurst League of Women Voters Candidate Forum. I'm Sue Whitworth, and it's my privilege to be the president of the Elmhurst League of Women Voters. March 14th marked the 95th anniversary of the League of Women Voters. It's a nonpartisan political organization of volunteers that continues to fight for voter rights, register voters, and share our research on issues facing our communities. Today, we're hosting candidates seeking your vote in the April 7th consolidated election. We have invited all candidates running for the Elmhurst Park Board, Alderman for Elmhurst City Council, board members for the Elmhurst Community Unit School District 205, and Board of Trustees for the College of DuPage. Candidates will be making a 2-minute opening statement, a 1-minute response to questions, and closing remarks. Timers are positioned up front here, and we'll signal the speakers as time runs down. We welcome your questions from the audience. However, we do need them written down on note cards, and we have volunteers that will come around the room to hand you a note card and to gather them as well. We will begin today with the Elmhurst Park Board, and our moderator is Jeanne Davik from Oak Brook. Jeanne.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I will be the moderator for just the first segment of today's candidate forum, the Elmhurst Park Board. The Elmhurst Park District is led by a 7-member Board of Commissioners elected to 6-year terms. They serve without compensation. In the April 7th consolidated election, 4 candidates are running for 3 open positions, and these are our 4 candidates. We will begin with opening statements, and before we came up to the podium, we drew numbers. The lucky number 1 is Bill Kluth, who will give his opening statement first. Begin.
Good afternoon. Hi, how are you? I am William Kluth. Bill, I first want to thank the League, Betsy, Sue for hosting this event, Jeanne for moderating. Thank you very much. Just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I have been married for 17 years. I'm an Elmhurst resident for 13 years. I have 2 children. I have a child at Sandburg. I have a child at Bryan. I want to thank District 205 for allowing my kids to split up for middle school. I am a graduate of the University of Illinois. I am a typical Chicagoan. I've born here, raised here, avid sports fan. Currently in Elmhurst, I sit on a couple sport boards for Elmhurst Youth Baseball, Elmhurst Extreme. Currently, I'm on the board for Elmhurst Airborne, which is a theater program into York. Also, I have, wanted to let you guys know, also I have 2 dogs. They enjoy the parks as much as my children do. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I just want you to get to know me, who I am, and what I am. Again, I'm a resident of Elmhurst for 13 years, and I'm running for this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Second, Carolyn.
Thank you to the League and all who made today's forum possible. My husband and I met at the University of Illinois in Champaign, but I didn't know Bill, where I received a degree in accounting. We moved to Elmhurst 26 years ago for its beautiful parks and award-winning schools. Today, any realtor will tell you that Elmhurst Park District pools, playgrounds, ball fields, and Wilder Park, home to the Mansion Conservatory and to award-winning museums, still impresses clients and closes deals. Our programs provide something for everyone, from piano to gymnastics to lapidary arts. My children learned to swim at East End Pool and spent snowy afternoons sliding down the snow hill at Barron's Park when they weren't playing tennis, football, or lacrosse. On the business side, the Government Finance Officers Association honored Elmhurst Park District with our highest award for excellence in financial reporting for the 6th consecutive year. Elmhurst was the first park district to be honored with the Governor's Sustainability Award for outstanding innovative sustainability practices. Strong relationships with District 205 and the City of Elmhurst and other private nonprofits help make the most of shared resources and keep taxes low. The Elmhurst Park District's planning and follow-through is translated into millions in grant revenue, including a $1.8 million park grant for the Wilder Conservatory restoration and a recent $400,000 Illinois Department of Natural Resources grant for Butterfield Park redevelopment. The Elmhurst Park District mission states, "We provide experiences for the lifetime enjoyment of the people who live and play in Elmhurst." My name is Carolyn Ubriaco, and I would be privileged to earn your vote and the opportunity to serve another term. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Our next speaker to give opening comments is Kevin Graf.
Hi, my name is Kevin Graf, and I'm here today because I'm ready to serve as your Elmhurst Park Board Commissioner. I was born and raised in Michigan City, Indiana, till I left to pursue my career in IT. To put myself through college, I served in the Army for 9 years and did a tour in the Gulf War in Iraq and Saudi Arabia. I felt an obligation to serve my country, protect it, and keep it out of harm's way. I want to continue my service, focusing more on my community, for which I've been an Elmhurst resident and husband for 20 years. I continue to be involved in serving our veterans and community by volunteering at the Fisher House and the Greater Chicago Food Repository. I feel the Park District is a great fit for me and for the community on many levels. Coming from a family of 6 children, we always were involved in the local parks. Programs we participated in were free or reasonably priced. As a child, I recall waking up excited to ride my bike to spend the day there. I'll never forget that opportunity and how it affected me. Now I have the ability to provide this experience to future generations. My wife, Michelle, and her family moved to Elmhurst in 1968. My father-in-law, Rich Flum, worked for the Park District for 23 years and instilled in me his passion, devotion, and love for the parks. As a solution architect for a leading food service corporation, I support a diverse group of over 4,000 nationwide sales personnel. This has provided me with the opportunities, experience, and skill set that I will use as your Park Board Commissioner. It is my intention as a Park Board Commissioner to build on the quality of the parks, work efficiently to keep our tax levies reasonable, enhance our recreational programs for all ages, and work with the government agencies. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to speak here today, and the Elmhurst residents who took time out of their busy lives to listen.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Our final speaker to give opening remarks is Doug Ennis.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, the City of Elmhurst, and the residents of Elmhurst for granting me the opportunity to speak with you today. My family has a long history in Chicago dating back to 1894, including my great aunt and uncle who lived and raised 7 children here in Elmhurst. I remember as a young kid coming to visit Elmhurst to see what play in the parks and to just experience what was happening here in Elmhurst. Years later, after living in Colorado for 10 years, decided to move back to Chicago. One of the first places we looked at was Elmhurst. So now as a homeowner, a husband, a father of 2 children, I very much enjoy what Elmhurst has brought to me. My commitment and interest in serving in the Park Board comes from my experience as being an athlete, part of a couple adult soccer teams that utilize the parks. My children, who I've refereed and volunteered for coaching for them. And then also about my background as being a technologist, and living in Colorado, I think, brings a unique perspective to the Park Board. I'm committed to the future of the Elmhurst Parks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now proceed to questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question given to them in advance by the Elmhurst League of Women Voters. We're going to mix up the order a little bit. The first question will be answered first by Carolyn, and I will read the question. What is your position on shared land space for flood control?
Every proposed site must be assessed on its benefits and costs, and the best solution should be implemented without delays or excuses. It's simply unacceptable that Elmhurst residents are subject to catastrophic damages and perils every time it rains hard. Every Elmhurst property owner benefits when infrastructure and core city services like stormwater management are modernized and meet the needs.
Thank you. Our second person to respond, Kevin Graf, will you take the same question, please?
Sure. There must be a balance. Infrastructure first, detention where appropriate. All the new development has outgrown the infrastructure and is long overdue for an upgrade. In some areas, the only realistic solution is detention, and in other areas, infrastructure. We must seriously weigh the consequences and the overall impact of sacrificing our very limited green space to be used for detention. Elmhurst is a mature community that's landlocked. The parks and schools need what little land they have in order to best serve the residents. The longer we delay infrastructure, our community suffers trying to attract new families, businesses, and our overall community image. We are known as a premier town with award-winning parks, outstanding schools, and a family-friendly community, but one that has flooding issues. Infrastructure is a long-term investment for the community and generations to come. We should use detention to supplement and complement the infrastructure upgrades.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Doug Ennis, would you please answer the same question?
Sure. When looking at flood control discussion in Elmhurst, I firmly believe that all government bodies must first consider the residents of Elmhurst over any personal or organizational beliefs. I support the view and the use of areas that could potentially reduce the risk of home flooding, which in turn increases the value of Elmhurst properties. And will continue to keep Elmhurst as one of those top locations for families to move and raise their children.
Thank you very much. Our final speaker, Bill Kluth.
I've heard a lot about park land, school land, and city land. I personally don't look at it this way. It's the citizens' land of Elmhurst. The question is, do I support dual use? And the answer is 100%. Dual use means new, better playing facilities that will be used as water detention once a year, once every other year, and the city is proposing to pay for 100% of the cost. To me, that's a no-brainer. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of pages of studies available. Dual use of park land is the most cost-effective option that will help most people in the shortest amount of time. As stated by the current park board, other options will cost Elmhurst millions of dollars, which require tax increases. I don't support tax increases. Bottom line is, if the choice is to temporarily store floodwater in a park for a day or two, once a year, versus water flooding people's basements, sign me up. Anything else but full cooperation on behalf of the citizens of Elmhurst is unacceptable. To me, this is a win-win. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're ready for our second question. What is your 5-year vision for the Park District? And Kevin, you are the first speaker on this point.
Great. I believe the Park District has done an excellent job with their vision and plan. We need to continue to focus on maintaining the parks and services as well as appropriate capital investments. It is imperative to keep our great facilities in pristine condition and our services top-notch. We need to be agile to respond to the ever-changing landscape and demands of our residences, plus solicit their feedback. We should explore the opportunity for a self-funding, self-sufficient indoor recreational facility with sports like ice skating, hockey, basketball, and soccer. Outdoor activities like an animal park. To lessen the tax burden, project funding can be supplemented through various TIF opportunities, pursuing grant funding, and potential sponsorships.
Thank you very much. Doug Ennis, will you answer that same question, please?
I think it is imperative that the Park District continue to grow with the needs and requirements of the residents of Elmhurst. Growth can occur in many different ways, including new types of activities, offerings, sports, and programs. The board will need to look at current facilities and potential new facilities to enhance the progress offerings for the residents of Elmhurst.
Thank you very much. Bill Kluth, would you take that question, please?
Sure. I think the Park District has done a fantastic job. I believe our footprint, our parks are great. I love this town. I love raising my family here. Want it to make the best it can be. We need to take a serious look at our footprint and make good better, make great the best. I'd like to look at bringing a facility into Elmhurst. Again, coming at it from a youth sports perspective, we have to travel around to different cities, pay X amount of dollars to use their facilities. I think Elmhurst is a world-class city. We got great amenities, and it deserves the best. And we have great facilities. I just want to make them a little better. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Carolyn Ubriaco.
The Elmhurst Park District draws on something far more powerful, authentic, insightful than the vision of any single commissioner or person. You, all of you. You've told us that quality schools and keeping taxes low are top priorities, but that you want and need better indoor facilities, a senior center, playing fields, running track, basketball courts, a pool, dance studios, possibly an ice rink. Your vision for the next 5 years is more than just a dream. It's the Elmhurst Park District strategic plan, which includes a comprehensive approach to funding, planning, and improving the district while keeping taxes low. It's my honor to make your vision a reality through creative, sustainable, and fiscally responsible policies, and by attracting and retaining talented staff who care deeply about you and getting the right things done with integrity and transparency.
Thank you very much. We are now ready for the third question. The court's facility is self-funding and self-supporting. Do you see this practice expanding to other district facilities? And Doug, you get it first this time.
Sure, thanks. Absolutely I do. Specifically, as we look at new facilities, I think we've heard all the commissioners mention that Elmhurst is definitely in need of a multi-use indoor facility. I know for a fact, being, again, an adult soccer player and also seeing my children go to McCook, go to Westmont, go over to Hillside to play sports and put my money over there versus putting my money here in Elmhurst. If we had that facility here, I absolutely would put my money in Elmhurst, and I think there are a lot of teams that would do the same.
Thank you very much. Bill Kluth, would you answer the same question, please?
Sure. If and when possible, self-funding and self-supporting programs are great for the city. While it's great to create these amenities, I think it's important to remember that citizens of Elmhurst already pay a tax that goes directly to park districts. Not everything should be pay to play, so to speak. Some offerings cannot be funded solely by taxes. Each program should be carefully studied, protect the taxpayer dollar, but bring the best-in-class amenities to the citizens of Elmhurst. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Ubriaco, would you answer that question, please?
Oh, excuse me. Quartz Plus is a success model of a high-quality product that meets a need in the marketplace and profits the taxpayer. Revenues have allowed the Park District to replace playgrounds and upgrade facilities while keeping total taxes low and about the same as residents pay for the Elmhurst Public Library. I absolutely favor pursuing much-needed profit-making indoor facilities that keep taxes low and programs affordable for everyone, including seniors and young families.
Thank you very much. Kevin, would you take that question, please?
Absolutely, I see this practice expanding. The courts have been successful for the Park District and has helped lower the tax costs for many capital improvements. The experience can be leveraged in other areas where revenue has been challenging. Wilder Mansion revenues have also shown to be a diamond in the rough. Bookings, participation, and revenues continue to increase. Sugar Creek Golf Course has some revenue challenges, but with a plan in place and monitoring in progress, we can adjust the plan accordingly to meet those goals. As I mentioned earlier, exploring a multi-purpose indoor facility is something that can be considered.
Thank you very much. We are now ready for the fourth question. What prompted you to run for this office? We'll start with Bill Kluth.
Thank you. Again, I draw my experience from being a coach and a manager of teams in Elmhurst, being on the board of different sporting groups, baseball, basketball. I want to improve the facilities. Our footprint, again, is fantastic. Again, it can be better. The playability of our facilities need to be upgraded. Again, like Doug, he plays soccer, and so do I. I play men's softball. And when I go up to bat and I'm 6 inches below home plate, that's not acceptable. People can get hurt. Our facilities are fantastic. We just need to improve them a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Carolyn Ubriaco.
I'm running for the Elmhurst Park District Commissioner because I want to continue working with you and our community and making a difference to enrich the lives of all residents, young families, seniors, and the young at heart, the longtime resident and the newcomer. I want to continue to make your Park District programs, playgrounds, ball fields, pools, and parks those safe places where all are welcome, friends are made, and people and community grow.
Thank you very much. Kevin Graf, would you answer that question, please?
Sure. As a 20-year resident of Elmhurst, I feel it is time to give back to the community by serving the residents as a Park Board Commissioner. As I stated earlier, when I was a child, I gained respect for what a park district can provide to a child and their family. That respect was further enhanced when I met my wife, Michelle, and her family, longtime residents of Elmhurst, but in particular her dad, Rich Flum. As a Park District employee for 23 years, his unwavering devotion, pride, and love for the parks had a profound impact on me. I will apply that same work ethic and commitment to the Park District.
Thank you very much. Doug Ennis, would you take that question, please?
Sure. So I am currently a board member of the People for Elmhurst Park District, commonly known as PEP, and I felt that compelled that one of the next steps in being part of the Park District was to run for Park District Board Commissioner. I also feel strongly, based off of my background of not just being from Illinois, but also being from Colorado and seeing what happens with flood detention, water, and other park resources, that new visions, new ideas were necessary for the Park Board. There's too many people that have been part of the Park Board for way too long.
Thank you very much. It's now time for audience questions. We had one question from the audience. Let me just read it here. What can the city do better as they work with the Elmhurst Park District? Anybody need that repeated? Okay. Well, let's see. Carolyn, will you take that one first, please?
Sure. I think that's a very interesting question. I think that the Elmhurst Park District and the city have a terrific working relationship. And I guess the best thing that we can do is keep those open lines of communication open and have an attitude of the end in mind and what's best for all who live in Elmhurst. Again, I think our relationship is strong, and very pleased and happy about the work that we have done so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kevin Graf?
I think the city and the Park District do work well together. I think that there can be additional communication between them, further transparency between both agencies, and I believe that together, between all three agencies, we can make Elmhurst the world-class community that it already is, but even push the bar further for other communities to look to. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Ennis?
I too also feel that the city and Park Board have worked together pretty well. There's a number of committees that meet regularly to talk about the issues between the two, and I think that all we can continue to do is maintain an open, honest relationship and keep in mind, as I stated at the beginning, that this is not about us. This is about the residents of Elmhurst and the longtime success of Elmhurst.
Thank you very much. The candidates now have a chance to make a closing statement. Oh, I apologize.
Oh, that's
Darren.
okay. That's not a problem.
Back to you. Thank you
Not a
for the
problem.
reminder.
It's a good question, and I think what we all have to keep in mind is the city government are made up of all Elmhurst residents. The Park District are made up of all Elmhurst residents. And I believe at the end of the day, where there is different opinions, and that's fantastic because that's how debate, that's how change, that's how things take place. At the end of the day, that the both entities get together and they do best what's for the Elmhurst citizens. Again, I go back to my first statement about it's not parkland, it's not school land, it's not the city's land, it's our land. And at the end of the day, hopefully that both bodies get together and they decide what is best. You elected all those officials, and hopefully they're doing right by what you want them to do. So Hopefully they continue doing that. And we do have a world-class city here. It is a great place to raise a family and live. And hopefully we can continue moving that forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I apologize.
We have nothing to apologize for. That's great. Thank you.
In the interim, we have another question from the audience. My children grew up in the amazing Park District programs. Now that they are teenagers, I see fewer programs. What ideas do you have for teen programs? Bill Graf, would you begin with that one? Do you need to hear that again?
No,
Okay.
I'm good, and it's Kevin, but we're good, Jeanne. It's okay. I threw you off. I do think that the number of programs for teenagers is lower than it could be. I think in today's electronics world, we need to try to entice those children to get outside and to play more. I do believe soccer and the baseball and the activities that we do have currently in this town are excellent, but I do believe that we can entice them to come out potentially to do other things like how to create something out of nothing, how to survive out in the wilderness and things like that, and just to be outside and enjoy this wonderful town that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Ennis, would you take that question, please?
I think it's always a challenge with teenagers to come up with ideas and programs that keep them interested. And I think one of the key pieces that the Park District needs to do, sort of as Kevin mentioned, is to focus around activities that get them out and away from their computers. I know for a fact my teenage son spends way too much time on his iPad, partially my responsibility as a parent, but also, building things, building games, building cities. Why not take that experience and put it into reality, help them build things as they move through it?
Thank you. Bill Kluth, would you take that, please?
Sure. I agree with what everybody just said. I'd also like to think that between York, the high school, the Park District, the Y, there is countless opportunities for high schoolers and middle schoolers to be using our parks and doing different things. I'd love to take that question offline with whoever wrote it and find out what your ideas are. What would you like to see the Park District do? Again, we're here to serve you. Or Carolyn's here to serve you right now. We'd like to serve you. Tell us what you want us to see. What do you want to see? I would love to dive into that further. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn, would you take
Sure,
that?
thank you for the question. Teenagers are historically and perennially a very difficult group to bring into to institutional settings. It's been some of the most exciting work that I've ever done, working with teenagers in some of the groups that I've worked with. And what I found is that when something sparks their interest, it really seems to catch fire, and great things happen after that. I've raised 3 teenagers of my own, and as Bill mentioned, those 3 were very involved in sports at York, clubs. They really didn't have time for a lot else other than their AP classes, their college applications, and their academics. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity to engage teenagers in public groups, junior city council, junior park district, clubs. I think there's a lot of opportunity to engage them, and I too would like to take that question offline with whoever wrote it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe we are now ready for our closing statements. Doug Ennis, would you please begin?
Sure. I thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us today and ask questions. It was definitely enjoyable to hear the 2 questions and the thoughts around the park board. I look forward to meeting you as I walk through Elmhurst, and I would ask that as you consider the future direction of the parks, you consider a vote for me.
Thank you very much. Bill Kluth, would you take that?
Sure. I didn't craft a closing statement. I really didn't know how this would go, so I wanted to formulate. I would love to serve Elmhurst in the capacity as a Park District Commissioner. I come at it from a youth sports perspective. That's what I've been around for the last 12 years, but that's not my main goal. I know the Park District does many different things, and I'd be willing and love to talk with each and every one of you about your vision of what the park should look like, what it looks like. Again, we have great facilities. We've got a great footprint. We can always make things a little better. So again, love to talk with you. I look forward to competing against my opponents here, and hopefully I can earn a spot on the Park District Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carolyn Ubriaco, would you give us your closing statement?
Sure. Over the last 6 years, much has changed, but my promise to you has not. To preserve your open green spaces where you gather, grow, play, build friendships, and stay healthy over a lifetime. In order to do these things, I need your vote. I'm Carolyn Ubriaco, and I ask for your vote for Elmhurst Park District Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our final speaker, Kevin Graf.
Thank you, Jeanne. I'm proud to say that Elmhurst is my home now and in the future. My wife, Michelle, and our 2 precious puppies have no intentions of leaving this thriving community. I believe in working hard and playing hard. It is imperative that Elmhurst residents have a place to go within their own community to spend their recreational and leisure time. Our award-winning parks, facilities, and their programs are a perfect place to meet those needs. As your Park Board Commissioner, I will build on the quality of the parks, implement solutions to keep our tax levies reasonable, ensure user-friendly access to park activities via technology, and provide relevant services for all ages that are exciting, engaging, and fun. Most important, I will always be accessible to listen to your feedback. Just as I served my country with discipline, honor, and integrity, I look forward to the opportunity to serve the Elmhurst residents as your Park Board Commissioner. Vote Kevin Graf on or before April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all 4 of our candidates for the Elmhurst Park District Board of Commissioners. This concludes the Park District segment of the program. Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lori Miller. I am a past president of the Wheaton League of Women Voters and an active member, and I'm delighted to be back here again to help with your city council races, city alderman. That is the race we're going to be talking with candidates for today. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst, I'd like to welcome all of you today and those of you that might be watching in the audience. And you do have a lot of quality candidates to choose from for the upcoming April 7th election. So we appreciate your participation today, listening thoughtfully to the questions that are asked by the League and by you, the audience members. And do ask your questions to get those answered so you can make a clear choice on April 7th. With that, we do have 3 running for unopposed positions in the 3rd Ward, 5th Ward, and 7th Ward. And those candidates are going to give up to a 2-minute opening statement. And then we're going to hear from our contested races. We have an alderman for each ward, and there's going to be 4 wards represented today. And then they'll have up to 1 minute to answer the questions, and then a 1-minute closing comment. So we expect to share an hour today, so we do appreciate in advance your thoughtfulness and concise answers to those questions. And we will start with Dannee Polomsky. She is running unopposed for the 3rd Ward, giving a 2-minute opening statement.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dannee Polomsky, and I'm serving as alderman of the 3rd Ward, running uncontested for re-election. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity today. After moving to Elmhurst with my husband and children, I soon became involved in our community. I joined the League of Women Voters, served as Park Board Observer, and joined the Elmhurst chapter of Cool Cities. Soon after that, 4 years ago, I ran for alderman to continue and expand my involvement. My priorities are strongly reflected in my committee work. I serve on the North York Steering Committee, the School, City, Park, Stormwater Communication Committee, as Vice Chair of the Development, Planning, and Zoning Committee, and I additionally serve on the Mayor's newly formed Sustainability Task Force. To touch on a couple of points on the development side, the Council has established the North York TIF District, and we are utilizing tax increment financing to attract catalyst developments. We are close to adopting a North York plan to address the barriers of a thriving corridor. The DPZ Committee is also pursuing an update to our downtown plan. I look forward to having a hand in continued North Side and citywide redevelopment. Growth and development generate the revenue critical to provide quality services and to fund flood mitigation projects. I'm proud to have worked with city staff to allocate additional dollars to a new street resurfacing plan. My votes have demonstrated full support of new residential stormwater storage requirements, impervious surface limits, infrastructure improvements, and every other measure we have taken to alleviate flooding. Incorporating a variety of projects and policies to further mitigate flooding is a priority. It remains important to me that the financial impact of each decision is thoroughly scrutinized to allow for the highest level of service for the lowest cost possible. I believe the key to making a meaningful contribution as an alderman is the willingness to learn and to listen. It is an honor to serve the residents of the 3rd Ward and the city as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate, and good luck with your race. Even though it's uncontested, it's nice to introduce you to the community. Our next candidate is going to be Scott Levin.
Scott Levin today, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself to you. And by way of background, I've been a business litigator and business attorney for over 25 years. And I also bring governmental experience to the City Council, having worked for the state for 9 years as a Deputy Director of our Criminal Justice Authority. I've been involved in a lot of different activities in Elmhurst, community activities, primarily, or most important to me, I would say, are 6 years as Director on the Chamber of Commerce and having chaired the Chamber and co-chaired the Mayor's Finance Task Force in 2009. I've always been interested in local government. It's the one level of government where you can actually understand all the issues and you can have some personal impact on resolving them. It's also the one level of government where you meet so many of your constituents. You run into them in the grocery store and you meet them in community activities. My city council service began in 2010. I was appointed as an alderman and I subsequently won re-election in 2011 for a full term. I've served on the Public Safety and Finance Committees. I've chaired the Zoning and Planning Committee for the last 2 years, and that's why we're running unopposed, because we do such a remarkable job. I'm on the Economic Development Commission, and I had the honor of serving as acting mayor for 6 months. Economic development has been my #1 priority. Planning had been cut from the budget in 2009. I took a lead in getting it restored, and our committee is getting planning going again for the city. I also think it's important for my work with our residents, serving as ombudsman, to make city government work for them, to help them solve city problems that they might not be able to solve themselves, helping to explain government and make it more transparent. I appreciate the opportunity to serve the 5th Ward as we go forward, and thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Alderman Levin, and good luck with your race as well.
Thank you.
And last but not least, for unopposed, we would like to welcome 7th Ward candidate Mark Mulliner.
Hello, I'm Mark Mulliner, and I appreciate this opportunity to introduce myself to everyone. My background, so everybody understands, I was in education for 25 years as the Director of Technology here in Elmhurst. I've owned my own business for the last 10 years that does technology consulting for school districts. In the community, I've been involved in the community since 1983 as far as running for office. In 1983, I ran in the 3rd Ward, and then I continued to be involved by continuing to come to city council meetings since that point. I spent 6 years on the library board working with the library during the process of when they were determining whether they could build a new library. Fortunately, that project has moved forward to give us a great new library. Since then, being on the city council, I've served on the Public Safety and Council Affairs Committee. I was the chairman of that committee for a number of years, and then I moved over to the DP&Z Committee, where we've done a number of things as it relates to economic development, and we've done some great work in that area as far as I'm concerned. In the 7th Ward and across the city, my main focus has been in 2 areas. One is to get a handle on the flooding that we've been having, and we've made great strides in that direction, and also the economic development, which is so critical. And as Alderman Levin and Polomsky mentioned, we're beginning some planning that's really important for us to move some of this stuff forward, and it's all positive as it relates to making sure that we keep our tax base strong and keep our taxes low for the residents of Elmhurst. Thank you very much, and I look forward to supporting you and representing you again in the future.
Thank you, Alderman Mark. We appreciate your service. With that, I'd like to introduce the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 6th Ward candidates. We have 2 aldermans running for 1 seat, and we already do numbers, and that will determine the order of the opening statements. Again, the aldermen have up to 2 minutes to make their opening comments. Then we'll proceed with league-addressed questions. Then we'll have 1-minute closing statements. So we already do numbers, and Noel Talluto, she will begin. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Noel Talluto, 4th Ward Alderman and candidate for the same. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this candidate forum and all of you for participating. Today, I hope to provide you enough information to convince you I am the best choice for the position of 4th Ward Alderman. I was born and raised in Illinois, went to the University of Illinois, and moved to Elmhurst with my family 5 years ago. My husband, Mark, and I, along with our 4 young children, quickly realized what a special place Elmhurst is. Through volunteer roles as a youth coach, Immaculate Conception Parish Children's Church leader, and League of Women Voters City Council observer, I have met many wonderful people. It is because of this community that I became alderman. I want to be part of keeping Elmhurst the great place it is. I was appointed by the mayor in November from a pool of 9 qualified applicants to fill the open 4th Ward seat. I am a member of the Finance Committee and have already voted to reduce your city tax levy by $500,000 this year. I have 3 focus areas as alderman. My experience as an IT marketing executive with an MBA and a bachelor's in engineering gives me a clear advantage to tackle these focus areas on your behalf. First, responsible growth. A growing business and sales tax base can help reduce the tax burden on individual homeowners and keep our city strong. Second, good government. Infrastructure is a critical service provided by local government. I support policies and projects that help mitigate stormwater flooding, such as Golden Meadows Park. Third, active communication. Since November, I have met residents at 750 homes in my ward and helped dozens more resolve specific concerns they had. I have a proven record of experience representing you, and I ask for your vote on April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Noel. The next person will be candidate Claude.
My name is Claude Pagacz. I am running for the candidate in the 2nd Ward. I would like to thank the Women's League of Voters for this opportunity. And I believe I originally came to Elmhurst over 30 years ago. My wife was born and raised in Elmhurst. I initially came to Elmhurst with the idea in mind of its location to transportation. But over time, I found that Elmhurst is a little bit more than that. Fine schools, library, museums, parks. That adds to the overall being of a resident of Elmhurst. During the 40 years that I worked in the construction industry. Started as a carpenter, became a superintendent, worked on industrial as well as institutional buildings. In that process, I had to work with architects, owners, engineers. And I believe this background, plus the background of the individual alderman, has a great bearing on the decision-making of this council. In the last 6 years, I've spent a great deal of time at the council, observing how the council operates. I find that in many cases, they do not take into consideration the views of the residents. I hope that the people of the 2nd Ward will consider me for alderman, and I thank you.
Thank you, candidate Claude. Now we'd like to ask candidate William Perry to give his opening remarks.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this event, and I also want to thank you people in the audience and, for attending. These are important. It makes good government good when people take an interest in that government. I think our city council needs more of these events, not to take place on a Monday before selecting, community members, but sometimes when normal people, working people, have an opportunity to come and see how the council is actually operating and what they're actually doing. So I'm Bill Perry. I've been a resident from the 6th Ward for over 15 years. Along with my wife Natalie, we're raising 2 great daughters, Madeline, your class of 2017, and Rachel, your class of 2020. So go Dukes. I attended the University of Wisconsin-Madison, graduated 3.5 years, and then went on to law school at the University of Illinois. I've been in basically commercial litigation for over 19 years. question I even asked myself, why am I running? Well, you know, in talking to people and talking to residents in my ward, they really feel that they're not being heard. Nobody's responding to them. That doesn't make for good representation. You know, I want to represent the whole 6th Ward, not just Oneida Avenue or Niagara, but Washington and Crescent Street and Cayuga and Chatham and Yorkfield and Stratford and Princeton Court and Edgewood and everyone and everywhere in between. That's why I want your vote, because I want to represent you and not be simply a politician. But, saving that, I just want people to vote. It's important. That's how we are heard as residents, is by our vote. So I encourage everyone to vote, but especially vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidate William Perry, or Bill. And candidate Mike Honquest, your 2-minute opening comments.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to the Elmhurst League of Women Voters for hosting the event today. I've been serving the 6th Ward now since 2013. I was appointed in the mayor's seat when he was elected mayor. Elmhurst is a great city, as many of us have already stated, and I've lived here since 2001. My wife was raised here and wanted to come back, and little did I know when I was dating her that in my marital contract it would say I would live the rest of my life in Elmhurst. So I'm here, and I love it, and we're raising 5 kids here, from Treetown to Jefferson, 2 at Bryan, and 1 at York. I also have 20 nieces and nephews in town, and 6 brothers and sister-in-law. So we've got pretty much the whole town covered. And we all love, you know, calling Elmhurst our home. When I graduated from college, I spent a year doing volunteer work in inner city New Orleans. And I worked with 15 very tough situation kids that were from very tough situations. And I learned a lot from that experience, and one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that you have to give back, and you have to give back for the right reasons. And that's led me to be a coach, to volunteer at my church, Viz, and it's led me ultimately to be an alderman here for the city. In turn, it's been an honor to work with the mayor and all the councilmen and aldermen that serve here. It's a lot of people who give up a lot of time to make this city a great place to live. Elmhurst is in great financial shape. It's booming both in the residential and commercial spaces. We recently voted in a tax deduction and a balanced budget, and we're getting press recognition for what a great town this is. I plan to continue to be a part of that, and I ask for your vote on April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Honquest. And now candidate Mark Sabatino.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. My name is Mark Sabatino, and I've been a resident of Elmhurst for over 13 years, along with my son Aiden, who's a 7th grader at Sandburg. My connection to Elmhurst dates back to 1980 when I took trumpet lessons at Elmhurst College. My sister chose to raise her family here in 1981, and my parents have been residents of Elmhurst since 1992. I've coached and managed for Elmhurst Youth Baseball and Elmhurst Electric Travel Baseball, and work part-time as a certified personal trainer at Courts Plus. I've served our community for the past 8 years as a commissioner of the Economic Development Commission, of which I chair. In my tenure, I've worked closely with city staff and consultants on a wide range of projects and have focused heavily on business retention and business recruitment. I have a degree in economics from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and I've been employed in the commercial real estate industry for 26 years. I've worked for Deutsche Asset and Wealth Management for the past 10 years as vice president and asset manager, and oversee a 6 million square foot real estate portfolio in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. I strongly feel that my achievements and knowledge of working with the city as a commissioner of the EDC, coupled with my experience in commercial real estate, are both invaluable assets to the community and city council. I'm running for First Ward Alderman as an advocate of the people, and you can be assured that I will listen intently to my constituents and make educated, informed decisions on your behalf. Thank you again for the opportunity, and thank you in advance for your support and vote on April 7th.
Thank you, candidate Sabatino. And next, we would like to invite Bob Dunn.
Thank you, Lori. Good afternoon, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this very worthwhile event today. I am Bob Dunn and have been your 2nd Ward Alderman for the city of Elmhurst over the last 4 years, and I'm seeking re-election as your 2nd Ward Alderman. My priorities as alderman are financial health, low tax rates, maintaining a family-friendly environment, facilitating a growing and vibrant community, ensuring public safety, and having involved and engaged citizens. Things have improved for the city by leaps and bounds over the last 4 years. We've seen the following progress in that time frame. Our general fund balance went from several weeks on hand to over 5 months, and our working cash fund went from $0 to $1 million, which puts us in compliance with our city policy. We also have generally maintained a flat tax levy year to year in that time frame, and this past year we actually reduced that by $500,000. Our pensions are fully funded, and our S&P bond rating is AAA, which is the highest, and it allowed the city to refinance 2 bonds last year and save the taxpayers over $1 million in future payments. ComEd reliability has improved significantly, and through electrical aggregation, the citizens of Elmhurst have saved over $5 million on their electric bill. Infrastructure investment increased steadily in key areas such as tree planting, road paving, and water and sewer main upgrades. And continued development has occurred throughout the city to grow our tax base. Stormwater projects are progressing, and the quarry project has now begun taking soil samples. These are all things I have supported as Second Ward Alderman and will continue to do so in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Dunn. And this time I'd like to invite Candidate Susan, and I know I'm going to say this wrong. I'll let you say it.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Smentek, candidate for Alderman in the 1st Ward. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and giving me this opportunity to speak today. I am a 17-year resident of Elmhurst. I was born and raised in the Jefferson Park area of Chicago, and I later spent time living in Evanston, where I graduated from Northwestern University. Currently, my husband Keith and I have 3 children attending Elmhurst schools, 1 each at Sandburg, Hawthorne, and in preschool, although kindergarten in the fall. Professionally, I have over 20 years' experience as a senior management level administrator at major arts institutions in Chicago, including such 501c3 organizations as the Old Town School of Folk Music and the Lyra Ensemble Artist in Residence at Loyola University, Chicago. A fiscal conservative, I have created and managed budgets, successfully written and managed grants from the National Endowment for the Arts and the MacArthur Foundation, and negotiated many contracts. After many, many years of commuting, I am fortunate to work in my field right here in Elmhurst. My priorities, if elected, will be to continue the 1st Ward's tradition of community involvement with resident input, support small business and promote vibrant development, advocate moving forward with sensible stormwater management, and provide prudent financial oversight. I would be honored to serve the residents of the 1st Ward as Alderman.
Thank you, Candidate Smentek. And now, last but not least, we have Candidate Mike Baker.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum today. Thank you to the public for being here and those watching. Thank you for your participation in the process. I am Mike Baker, and I'm running for 4th Ward Alderman. My wife and I moved to Elmhurst 27 years ago, and we've been blessed with 2 boys, Brian, a senior at York High School, and David, a college senior. 2 years ago, I ran for office in the most recent aldermanic election, and over 500 voters who believed in me as a newcomer to city government supported my campaign. I have stayed involved, true to my commitment to speak up on your behalf. I have 30 years of extensive personnel experience and financial experience and a long history of Elmhurst community service. My wife runs Treetown Cooperative Nursery School, a business in our 4th Ward. In 2009 in particular, living in Elmhurst changed dramatically as repeated flooding events began. Flooding ruins homes, makes them unsafe, and destroys property values. On my street and throughout our ward, I have seen water coming up through sewers, some pumps running constantly, and water rising to front doors and over foundations. As Alderman, I will work hard to address each and every area in our ward, to address water issues and get results or answers to your needs. Residents in our ward are also concerned with crime and the safety in their homes. Train noise, responsible spending, and the need for good, dependable utilities are some other issues which I will address. We need to have confidence that we have a lot to offer as a city and not allow over-generous incentives. I will be an alderman who listens and hears what you have to say. I will protect your tax dollars. I am dedicated to making Elmhurst better and will speak loudly on your behalf. Again, thank you for listening and thanks for your time.
Thank you, candidate. We appreciate that. And thanks all of your candidates for your opening remarks. And now we'll begin with the League prepared questions. 5 questions were given in advance that all the candidates did pose answers to, but because of time constraints, all the answers will be made available online and we'll only ask 3 of those questions. It's important to hear from you, the audience, so do submit your questions. We're making more time available for you. With that, we're going to start with candidate Claude to the answer to the first question, and we'll proceed to the right, so we'll go counterclockwise. And that way you all have a turn answering in different order. So candidate Claude, the question is, video gaming could be a source of revenue for the city as well as for the businesses. What is your position on this potential tax opportunity?
Video gaming has already been considered by the city of Elmhurst. It was not accepted, was voted down. Other towns, cities around Elmhurst have accepted video gambling. There were groups, individuals, businesses that asked the city council to vote video gaming as part of the town. They can once again ask the council and the administration. The information can be gathered on the pros and cons of video gaming in these areas, presented to the council, and they once again can consider this, whether they desire video gaming or not. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Next, we have candidate Bill.
Video gaming. I honestly don't think it's the best option because it has the potential for taking away from retail sales. If you look at the projected 2015 budget, we're anticipating about $15 million in sales tax revenue. Video gaming provides 5% tax revenue to a municipality. If you look at the largest DuPage municipality that uses video gaming, which happens to be Aurora, they generated $180,000 last year. That's less than 0.2% of the Elmhurst general revenue, which is projected to be about $126 million. What we need to do is focus on extending retail sales opportunities to all areas of Elmhurst. Video gaming would be a good option if it's specifically funding a specific target item, such as infrastructure improvements. Other than that, I don't think it's the best option.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Honquest.
Yes, thank you. I'm open and supportive to any options that help Elmhurst businesses. I think it's important that we create a pro-business environment in Elmhurst. At this time, I don't support it. Because I just don't think it's the right thing for Elmhurst at this time, but I'm open to the conversation, and if the business community desires it that strongly and we can make the financial case for it, I would at least listen. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Sabatino.
This is a complex issue that should be considered very carefully by all governmental and community partners. Financially, the city is in the best shape today than it has been in recent memory. The general fund is up to $16 million, and the working cash account is on par at $1 million. In addition, sales tax revenue is up 5% and 9% in 2013 and 2014, respectively. I'm in total support of attracting, retaining, and partnering with local businesses, and my work with the EDC has confirmed this. Our efforts should be focused on increasing sales tax revenue while creating new jobs, attracting new businesses, and retaining current businesses. While I respect the investment of businesses in our community, I feel there are many more opportunities to increase income for our great city, other than relying on the inconsistencies and potential sources of social ills associated with video gambling. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Dunn.
Video gaming has been allowed by the state for about 5 years now, and about 4,700 establishments are operating video gaming. However, Elmhurst passed an ordinance several years ago to prohibit this activity. The municipalities that are allowing this make on average of about $6,000 per establishment, $6,000, and $8.2 billion is gambled annually statewide. I do not believe that video gaming is consistent with the family-friendly character that is present in Elmhurst. Gambling can be extremely destructive and addictive behavior, and it does not belong in our town. Instead of following nearby communities such as Addison, Bensonville, and Villa Park that are allowing and promoting video gaming, I would prefer to model our town after cities such as Downers Grove, Lombard, Glen Ellen, and Hinsdale, who prohibit it. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Smentek?
An Elmhurst ordinance that prohibits video gambling was voted on and passed in 2009. Since that time, several surrounding DuPage County communities allow the machines, claiming it is a great source of revenue for the establishments, while others continue to prohibit it. I believe we need to balance our ability to appropriately regulate it in our community with our potential for the revenue. Since the vast majority of the revenue from video gambling goes to the business, the state, and the machine operator, residents ought to know how much is really left for the municipality. If elected, we could recommend revisiting this ordinance through the Public Affairs and Safety Committee and vet out allowing video gaming with our police, interested establishment owners, and most importantly, the residents. We must consider the resident input on this topic because this issue speaks so greatly to our vision of Elmhurst's future.
Thank you, candidate. And finally, candidate Baker.
Thank you. As a resident for 27 years, I believe Elmhurst to be a city where family and quality of life are priorities. Elmhurst City Council, as you've heard, voted several years ago to not allow video gaming in the city. I agreed with that action then, but I'm open to looking and revisiting the issue again. Before the City Council would approve gambling in town, we should allow residents to input via a referendum or focus groups. We should also discuss the cost of gambling, notably policing the establishment and the addictive nature of gambling itself. Additionally, we may want to restrict gambling from areas where families frequent. Retail-oriented communities such as Lombard, Schaumburg, and Oak Brook would seemingly benefit from most allowing it, do not. Several other communities which allow gaming are the ones we typically don't compare ourselves to. Since it has been a few years since gaming has begun, and it's been some time since we reviewed the matter, we could take some time to explore the benefits to our business community and then decide as a city with the residents how to proceed.
Thank you. Candidate Talluto.
Thank you. The City of Elmhurst is in a strong financial position. This is a result of the hard work of the residents, many successful businesses, city staff, and the leadership of our elected officials, as everyone worked together to raise ourselves out of the recession of the past couple years. As a current member of the Finance Committee, I directly impact financial decisions made by the city. In December, the Finance Committee recommended and the City Council voted to reduce the city's tax levy in 2015 by $500,000 with no cut to city services. Taxes could be reduced because other revenue streams, such as sales tax, are increasing. Given this strong financial position, I support maximizing our existing resources, such as the Economic Development Commission, to support the growth of our local businesses rather than new revenue streams, such as video gaming.
Thank you, candidate. The next question, we're going to start with candidate Bill Perry. Funding for the Elmhurst Historical Museum, a city department, was reduced by $100,000 last year. Do you believe it was appropriate to cut $100,000 from their operating budget? If so, why?
The museum is critical to Elmhurst, or Elmhurst being a destination for people in the surrounding areas. It's a great museum. I can't say I visited all that often, but recently they held an event and I was generally impressed. The only thing about this question, though, is, you know, I checked with the city manager and they didn't necessarily remove that funding, but made a contingent on that department putting forth a strategic plan and implementing that plan. So the question sort of misses the point. And I think the city departments have to be responsible to not only, you know, the budgetary concerns, but also the residents. So with that in mind, they're entitled to that money and they're gonna get that money, and they should get that money. The city should support that museum. So it should be restored, but with the reasonableness contingencies that are asked for.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Honquest?
So I serve on the Public Affairs and Safety Committee, and the museum does report to us. And we did not cut the budget. If we'd cut the budget, that would have meant that that $100,000 was permanently removed. In my business, when we write contracts, we often put in milestones. So in my thinking, this was a milestone for staff to review and put together a strategic plan. And once they do that, the money is returned fully into the budget. So there was never really a cut to the budget. It was simply a deferral of that money, and it will be restored probably by the end of next month once they finish the strategic plan.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Sabatino?
Thank you. The Elmhurst Historical Museum is an important social and cultural aspect of our city that must be maintained and continue to flourish for this and future generations. Budget cuts and lack of funding has been a common theme among museums nationally, and museums are looking to redefine themselves while still maintaining their core mission and values. Despite the budget reduction, again, it should be noted that if the museum implements a strategic plan with the city before July 1st, the city will reinstate the $100,000 to the museum's budget. Any entity or organization that asks for and receives monies from the city must be accountable to the citizens, and continued governmental transparency is of the utmost importance. I would make myself available to work with the members of the museum and city staff to assist them, if requested, in ensuring income and expense goals are met or exceeded. I would also assess all city department budgets to ensure the accountability and necessity as it relates to the most effective use of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dunn?
According to the museum director, the city council chose to cut $125,000 from the 2015 budget, contingent on the submittal of an updated strategic plan by July 1st. We've heard that mentioned. I believe the Historical Museum is a valuable gem that is another unique asset that our town possesses, and thus I voted against this funding cut, which is about 10% of their $1.2 million budget. The Elmhurst Heritage Foundation, which I am a member of, contributed $125,000 for exhibits, which is their main charter, but they also budgeted $40,000 for staff expenses that generally should be covered by the city. I'm hopeful that additional revenue will be generated by the new museum and ample funds can be restored so that the foundation need not underwrite these types of costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Susan?
The Elmhurst Historical Museum City Department is a valuable cultural institution that grounds our community in its past while helping it look forward to the future. Although supported by the incredible fundraising efforts of the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation, this department's budget is set during the city's annual budgeting process. Every department prepares a budget that is vetted by the city manager and then presented to the council for discussion and approval. The council's role is to set budget policy, provide direction to the city manager, and determine the tax levy. Using the budgeting process as a punitive opportunity is inappropriate and beyond the scope of the council's role. As an alderman, I would support the museum's position in our community. It should be a catalyst for creating a vibrant cultural center, site for dialogue, and a safe place for conversations about Elmhurst. I look forward to helping residents connect with this wonderful resource.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Baker?
Thank you. According to the 2014 Elmhurst Citizen Survey, the museum boasts a positive customer service rating, which mirrors those of the public library. However, there were no discussions on cutting the public library's budget this year. We must do everything possible responsibly to support our cultural offerings here in Elmhurst. Since the cut that was made is under 0.5% of the city's budget, it wouldn't seem that this cut was made to save money. This cut, as mentioned, may not be a cut after all if the strategic plan is provided. Traditionally, the council has not dipped their toe into budget making on a contingent budget. This budget and our city budget is a guideline for spending. It's not a sports team where a player can receive extra money for outstanding play or hitting certain numbers. The rest of our city departments aren't set up on contingent budgets. In the future, I hope the museum can improve its perception among council members, demonstrating its value to our community and beyond. and I hope the council, for their part, will proactively speak about potential cuts before they become a reality.
Thank you. Candidate Talluto?
Thank you. The Elmhurst Historical Museum is a cultural treasure that is part of what makes Elmhurst unique. The museum staff, in partnership with the Elmhurst Heritage Foundation, has been doing great work, including facilities upgrades and recent exhibits such as the popular Cubs vs. Sox and Carl Sandburg in Elmhurst. The work being done by the museum and foundation is creating increased value, not only for residents who support the museum with $750,000 in annual budget, but also, importantly, to people outside of Elmhurst. It is this increased value, potentially in the form of museum-generated revenue, like coupons to local businesses to drive sales tax, or non-resident admission fees, that might be used to offset some of the cost. I look forward to the museum's strategic plan in March that proposes new revenue ideas, at which time I will support reinstating the full amount to the museum's 2015 budget, resulting in no cut for the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Claude?
I think the approach by the council in regards to the Elmhurst Museum was the wrong approach. Each department of the budget meets with the administration, voices their wants, their needs. Discussion has taken place. For whatever reason, this issue did not come up in that discussion. It was vented on by the councils during the budget committee. The council decided to put in a contingency fund. That really resolved nothing. And I hope that this precedent of a contingency will not appear again in future budgets.
Thank you, candidates. The final league prepared question, we're going to start with candidate Mike Honquest. How would you utilize the economic tools of the TIF-4, a TIF is a tax incremental financing district, on the north side of Elmhurst to continue improvements?
Okay. So the TIF-4 district and the North York plan, I think, is an excellent example of all the stakeholders in town working together to come up with a plan for a section of our city. And so in this case, they did. We had a whole variety of residents and various businesses and stakeholders engaged in the TIF-4 project and have come together to put together a plan that most people can review if they want to get into some of the details. But the first success of that plan was Mariano's, and that development is up and running. I think most people in town are excited to have that here in town, and it has led to the Waverton Hotel being set up for demolition and a new project going in place there. So the plan is beginning to work, and new businesses are coming into town. That's why we have a TIF in the first place. And I think what we're starting to see with TIF-4 in the York District is a great example of that. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Sabatino.
Our mission with TIF-4 is to work effectively to promote and attract business and industry within Elmhurst so as to enhance the local economic climate, increase the city's tax base, increase the value of commerce, and create employment opportunities. I envision a multi-purpose, state-of-the-art sports and recreation facility that could accommodate year-round activities for all disciplines. Given our excellent proximity to O'Hare and major transportation arteries, this could serve as a regional sports and fitness hub for practice and tournaments, which could draw tens of thousands of people to our community annually who would shop and dine in Elmhurst. Another concept that might be considered is a performing arts theater, which can serve as a cultural arts center for the community and as a real anchor for economic development. Another thought would be a boutique-style hotel, which could follow suit, and possibly a big-box retailer should be evaluated as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dunn.
TIF-4 was created after much study and easily qualified as a TIF based on the severely underperforming EAV, equalized assessed value, on North York over many years. Most everyone agrees this corridor needs to be improved, and the city commissioned a study to develop the North York Street Corridor Plan. I was fortunate to be appointed to the steering committee to guide the creation of this plan and work closely with our consultants. Input was solicited from residents and business owners to construct the plan, and key thrusts that arose included expanding economic development, parcel consolidation, facade and streetscape enhancements, and improved mobility and walkability. Mariano's has created a lot of interest in the area, and the old Waverton Hotel is scheduled to begin demolition in a few weeks. A TIF needs to build on previous successes to create higher valued properties that will fund future development. Council needs to continue to support partnering with current owners and potential developers to plan appropriate projects so that this area of town can become an attractive draw for people from around the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Smentek?
The TIF 4 district on the north side of Elmhurst is extremely important to both the residents of the north side and the entire community. I would like to thank my former Alderman Polomsky and Alderman Brom for their referral to create a TIF 4 for the renovation of this area. It brings much-deserved attention to the north side and gives us the opportunity to seek specific development and to make infrastructure improvements. With the new Mariano's grocery store already in place, the new LA Fitness coming soon, and the creation of the North York Corridor Plan, which received much community input, I believe we have a great base in which to grow and develop the north side of Elmhurst. If elected, I would continue the efforts of City Council to attract high-quality development to the area, and I would especially support a comprehensive design to improve the streetscape, including the burying of power lines, landscaping, and unified signage in order to create a truly welcoming gateway to the city.
Thank you. Candidate Baker?
A review of local property values over the past year on Zillow.com shows Elmhurst lagging behind all other communities in property value gains. One way to benefit from TIF 4, which goes from Hahn Street to Grand Avenue on York, is to create a robust economic development which helps surrounding property values rise through careful use of business partnerships. I think the city should provide a vision for establishing the character of this TIF. Stormwater mitigation and infrastructure should be top priorities of any plan moving forward. Additionally, the TIF should have a consistent look and include modern street lighting, pedestrian, green space, and bicycle routes. I vision TIF 4 as a stretch of York Avenue where a variety of retail establishments bring people to shop in the area and stay. Our careful planning will allow for diverse retail opportunities throughout TIF 4, making it more of a destination to be rather than making a quick stop in the area.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Talluto?
Thank you. The north side of Elmhurst is a diamond in the rough, as the residents and businesses in the area already know. I'm pleased that the city has established TIF 4 to provide the needed development funds to help make this diamond shine. One of this area's assets, easy access to I-290, is also currently a weakness in that it serves as a barrier to local traffic, vehicle, foot, and bicycle traffic. The opening of Mariano's as a magnet store is a great first step in taking advantage of this asset. I'm also encouraged to see ideas to reduce the barrier effect of I-290 in the recent North York Street Corridor Plan, as well as progress on the upcoming development in the old Waverton Hotel property, which is supposed to be demolished soon. I continue to support moving these projects forward and want to ensure that all residents and businesses have a voice in the future direction of this part of Elmhurst. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Claude?
York will become an important part of whoever gets elected in the second ward. I believe the city should have taken more interest over the past years in trying to develop that area. If elected, I would work with the aldermen beyond the 290 so that we could coordinate efforts on that development. It's been too long a wait for that area to be developed. The city must invest, and I think that will eventually attract businesses to that area and satisfy the wants and needs of the residents along that corridor.
Thank you. Candidate Perry?
We need many shopping destinations in Elmhurst, not just one or two central areas. We need to create shopping districts where people park once and shop often. North York Road presents an excellent opportunity for that to happen. One of the most effective ways we can do that, what needs to be done, I believe, is that we need to ensure that whatever goes on there, we make it more pedestrian friendly, where people find it enjoyable to walk and browse and shop and dine. In that sense, we need to develop those shopping malls or shopping destinations, if you will, where people really want to get out of the car and not do the quick stops. You know, we see sort of similar areas like that in Glenview with the Glen, or Streets of Woodfield, or the city center in Burr Ridge, where it's these modern outdoor mall type areas that would be perfect, I think, for North York.
Thank you, candidates. Excellent responses. I'm looking forward to visiting Elmhurst more often, especially if you put in more bike routes. Thank you. Question from the audience, and we're going to start with candidate Sabatino. And we would appreciate it if you could answer these questions in 30 seconds, so we do have time for a next panel and your closing comments. This is an interesting question. One of the top issues identified by news articles and citizen surveys is stormwater mitigation. What is your position? Candidate Sabatino?
I think we need to find a mutually agreeable long-term solution for flood mitigation, whether it be retention facilities located at Golden Meadows or York Commons. Flooding and water intrusion affects everyone in Elmhurst. It affects morale. It's kind of like an albatross around our neck. And I vividly remember back in 1987 sandbagging my sister's house on Parkside in Madison. So that's the first taste I've gotten from stormwater. And I've also remodeled my basement for the past 10 years here. So I think while we've made some progress on receiving approvals for like Walnut, Myrtle, Evergreen, which I think is great, as a city, we've been slow to develop and execute a sound plan to remediate stormwater.
Thank you. Candidate Dunn.
Stormwater is a very complex issue. We've had our first floods 4 years ago in 2011, first significant ones in a long time. And as vice chairman of the Public Works and Buildings Committee, began some work in that area, but I have to take my hat off to the current committee, the Public Works Committee, for really diving into this issue, implementing some new policies to control and manage it in the residential area, but also look at systemic structural projects in terms of detention and other types to try to impact this. This isn't something we're going to solve in the next 2 to 3 years. It's going to take 20 to 30 to really impact this issue, and but we are heading in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Smentek?
In the first ward, the city-county quarry project has moved to top priority, and that is good for the residents of the tree streets in that ward. To address the needs of the other parts of the city, we do need to move forward with intergovernmental agreements and assessing infrastructure so that we can really move quickly as possible, even if it takes 20 years, to solve the problems for all of the residents of the city.
Thank you. Candidate Baker?
Stormwater mitigation is a major priority in the 4th Ward. Not only do we have excessive flooding situations on Pine and Avon, it also carries into Bryn Haven, which is the area that I live, and down into the Crescent Park area as well. We can't think that we're going to mitigate all of the flooding with some of the work we're doing. It's a long process. It's a challenging process. We should, though, make it a priority as a city, evaluate our spending when we're putting millions of dollars into structures or looking at structures that are subgrade below ground and putting millions of dollars into that type of structure. We really need to make sure stormwater stays as a priority for the city to help our property values and to help our residents.
Thank you. Candidate Talluto?
Thank you. I fully support comprehensive stormwater mitigation. A friend of mine says that it shouldn't be a red badge of courage to say that you flood in Elmhurst, but unfortunately for myself and many other residents on Pine, Avon, and other areas that Mr. Baker mentioned in the 4th Ward, it is. And I'm here, my number 2 priority is to put in place comprehensive stormwater mitigation for not only the residents in my ward, but also for the residents in the whole city. I've already voted in the short time I've been on the council to support the $1 million home repurchasing budget line item, which is going to allow, it's a new tool in the tool set among many others in the comprehensive stormwater mitigation plans to help reduce the impact to our residents by buying back homes. That's one of the tools. So I fully support this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Claude?
The issue of flooding is not a new issue to Elmhurst. It's been a problem in this town for a long time. Of late, we spent 5 years, maybe more, discussing what may or could be done. We have endless reports, views of residents, and I can only hope that after all this time, that we can come to some resolution. Maybe not a total solution, but we can talk a thing to death. And I believe that we have talked this issue to death. I would request that the city now take action.
Thank you. Candidate Perry?
This is why the Historical Museum is such a critical part of Elmhurst. Because it's there where I learned in the late 60s, early 70s, there was a huge problem in Elmhurst. There was 2 Elmhursts, north of the tracks and south of the tracks. As a result, the citizens got together and they came up with Palmer Drive, the underpass. And we're one of the few towns that have that. And that's what we need to do with the stormwater management. We got to think bigger than we have been. We need to do the comprehensive that solves all the problems, not just some of the problems for some of the residents, but all the residents. And not to quote, but we don't do it because it's easy, we do it because it's hard, and it's the right thing to do. The current approach of going to the schools and going to the park district and this piecemeal approach, it's not going to work. It's the city's responsibility, and the city needs to step up and come up with a giant comprehensive plan to do the big project to solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Honquest?
Yes, thank you. As many people know, this is a big issue for me. I'd like to state that there has been, for 5 years now, extensive study and discussion about what we should do with stormwater in this town. There is a plan. We're trying to execute the plan to do the most good for the most people at the least amount of cost, as my colleague Alderman Kennedy will say. We have a plan in place. We need the park board and the school board to help us with it. It's using some of their territory, some of the ground at the school at York. Not a lot of it, but some of it. Unfortunately, the first deal we're able to get done is with the county. So we need to continue to work with our other governing bodies. If we have to, we'll have to go outside these, but it will be more expensive for all the residents of town. That's why the plan we have in place, which has been vetted by a task force of 40 of our fellow residents, including many engineers, and a firm we spent millions of dollars with to come up with a plan, came up with this plan. So I hope everyone can support it. It's in place, and we can use it going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, the final question, we'd appreciate in advance 30-second responses or less. Candidate Dunn, we'll start with you. Elmhurst schools are arguably in greater need of modernization than any other assets in our infrastructure. Knowing this, what role should the city play in this endeavor?
Did you say Elmhurst schools?
Elmhurst schools are arguably.
Well, certainly our schools are a tremendous asset. It's one of the reasons I moved here 8 years ago with my family. I have 2 children in the schools right now. Athletic facilities are great. The academics are fantastic. We are certainly limited by the facilities and the footprint we have in Elmhurst. City Council really doesn't get involved with school district decisions, but a lot of us have children and are certainly very interested and concerned over these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Smentek?
Before my oldest child was born, I remember going to vote on the referendum to rebuild York High School, and I told my husband at the time that he had to go vote for that because one day we were going to need that for our own children. And we've been very supportive of continuing to expand the rebuild of Hawthorne, to do everything that we can. But again, the city council doesn't tell the school district what to do, so I believe our role as the city would just be to support and to get the word out about that.
Thank you. Candidate Baker.
This is a challenging time for all areas of government in terms of funding, and the schools are no different. There were times last year when their funding was perhaps going to be cut by several $1 million. Both of my boys went to schools in the 4th Ward, Edison and Sandburg, and my last is finishing up at York. They have had wonderful educations, and I hope that continues. As far as a city, we should develop more partnerships with the schools and maximize our abilities as a government to work with the schools to further the education of our students.
Thank you. Candidate Talluto.
Thank you. We have wonderful schools here in Elmhurst. As everyone has stated here already, while the City Council does not vote on decisions made by the school board, I've had the pleasure of working with local PTAs, namely at Field School here in Elmhurst. They had a local issue regarding a sidewalk that wasn't getting cleaned on the west side of the Nittany development. I was proud to be able to help them with that, work with them to get that cleaned for the safety of our kids walking to school. And also, I have the opportunity to work with our residents and encourage them to participate in the process and attend the school board meetings and participate in the process in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Claude.
The schools are an important aspect of the city of Elmhurst, always have been. But they have their own individual board, their own individual tax base. How they allocate it is up to them. The city of Elmhurst can take some interest in how this comes about, as the residents also can. But it really has no great influence on what that school board does.
Thank you. Candidate Perry?
Many have said the school board is a separate political entity in Elmhurst. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't partner with the city to achieve the ends of the great schools we have. One of the things the cities can do to support the schools is to keep the infrastructure we have, continue to improve it, continue to maintain it, so it's the safety of our school kids getting to that school. It takes a focus and a modernization of our infrastructure to help get our kids safely to school.
Thank you. Candidate Honquest.
Yes, well, I think the first thing that could happen in town is if the school board is willing to work with the city on the flooding issues, we'll get some excellent partnership moving into the future by starting with stormwater, and then we can see what we need to do with the infrastructure on the school. As I mentioned, I have 5 children in the schools. I love the schools here. They're a great part of town, but clearly the boards in this town need to work closer together on common goals, and I think stormwater is a great place to start. Thanks.
Thank you. And candidate Sabatino?
We moved here in 2001 primarily because of the school system, and I think as a city and for the community, we should do whatever we can to enhance our schools and provide for our children. There's certainly a delineation between what the school board does and the city. However, I think there should be more collaboration with the school board and see how we can improve the school system. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we've came to the end of our question and answer period. We'll now move to closing comments. You have up to 1 minute to make your closing comment, whatever you would like to encourage the voters to do to vote for you on April 7th. Candidate Susan, we'll start with you.
Elmhurst's First Ward possesses a wealth of community assets, including the library, Wilder Park, the Art Museum, the college, the YMCA, Lizardro Museum, multiple schools and churches, and the western side of City Center. As an involved member of this amazing community, I will be dedicated to responding to the residents and making thoughtful decisions on the issues that come before me. Thank you again for inviting me to speak today, and I respectfully ask for your vote on Election Day.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Baker.
In our 27 years in Elmhurst, we have seen Elmhurst go from a town where people go to shop at individual retail shops such as Ruby's and Leonard's and Pafunt and Clint into an area that welcomes and perhaps needs chain store type businesses. Elmhurst has changed, and we have to preserve the traditions of Elmhurst with the visions of the future. We need to blend the two together as residents and as government officials to move our city forward. It concerns me when residents flood and our community is besieged by water and infrastructure problems. I think that continues to have to be at the forefront of any politician's agenda, that we can make our city more pleasing, safe, and welcoming to others. Please consider voting on April 7th and for me for the 4th Ward aldermanic election. I appreciate everyone's time in being here today.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Talluto?
In closing, I again thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. I hope that today I have given you the confidence to know that I am the best candidate for 4th Ward Alderman. I already do and will continue to work tirelessly on your behalf to keep Elmhurst the great community that it is. I will continue to apply my passion and years of professional experience to drive responsible growth, good government, and active communication on behalf of our 4th Ward and the whole city. Thank you for listening, and I humbly ask for your vote on April 7th.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Claude?
I thank the League of Women Voters for this venue. There are many problems for the city of Elmhurst, amongst flooding, development, infrastructure. Each one must be judged in their need. That is left up to the council. If elected, I hope to establish that development of a program to determine the needs for each one of these issues. I ask for the vote of the residents of the 2nd Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Perry?
I love this town. This is such a great community. I'm asking for your vote because I want to represent the 6th Ward. I want to represent the entire 6th Ward. This is a great town, but it can get better. It can do more for more people. I think the City Council has done a wonderful job, and we can do it better. I'm humbly asking for your vote so that we can continue, so my kids can, move back here. I love Elmhurst and hope you can vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Candidate Honquest?
Thank you. So in 2014, the city conducted a citywide survey of all of the residents. Of all the residents that responded, and it was a very high rate of return, 96% rated the city in the good to excellent and quality of life. 96%. People are excited by new development on Hahn Street, the parking deck, Mariano's, and soon-to-be Whole Foods. We've added close to $200 million in valuation to the city over the last 2 years alone. This town is booming. It's a great town. I love this town. Family Circle magazine named it a top 10 city to raise a family in August of last year. Please vote for me on April 7th. Continue to serve the residents of the 6th Ward. And thank you again to the Elmhurst League of Women Voters for hosting today.
Thank you. Candidate Sabatino?
In closing, I would ask that you strongly consider my ongoing community involvement, my commitment, my qualifications, and my accomplishments while working with the city for the past 8 years as a commissioner and chair of the EDC. I have proven leadership skills, significant experience, and vision as it relates to being your 1st Ward Alderman. And I'm confident that I will make an immediate and profitable contribution to the city of Elmhurst and our residents. I'd like to thank you again to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon, and thank you in advance for your support and vote on April 7th.
Thank you, candidate. And candidate Dunn?
Well, we talked about some important issues today and had some very good questions from the audience. Elmhurst is a fabulous town, and we are all very fortunate to have such an engaged and involved group of citizens in our town, and that's really what the crux of this great town is the people that live here. And this has been demonstrated time after time with activities like our strategic planning and North York Corridor workshops, heavy involvement in that, our sustainability, our stormwater and financial task forces, which I was a member of the financial task force, and the over 100 residents that volunteer for the boards and commissions, and the thousands of residents that volunteer for community service every year. City Council and staff will continue to need to try to do more with less by keeping taxes and fees in check and I'm very happy and honored to be able to serve the constituents of the 2nd Ward and look forward to doing so for 4 more years. I ask for your vote on April 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidate. At this time, it's appropriate, audience. Thank you for being a wonderful audience. And for those of you watching, we do hope to have your support on April 7th to go out and vote. You have a lot of quality candidates. Always, there's clear choice, and we do appreciate your willingness to serve. This is a wonderful community, and it's appropriate now to join me in a round of applause.